Hey, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Hi, Frank. Hi, Tim. Hi, Pim.
Hey, Lubos. How you doing?
Hello. Hello, guys. Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, whatever.
Thank you for joining, guys. Thank you also to all attendees joining our session. My name is Lubos Lunter. I'm responsible for strategic alliances at Flowmon Networks, and today's session is dedicated to DDoS protection for high-speed networks. And I'm super glad that my colleagues and fellows from Flowmon and NaWaS joined the session. So let's do the introductions first. Please, Frank, Pim, could you start?
Tim, go ahead.
Okay, sure. I'm Tim Jones from Flowmon Networks. I'm the regional sales manager for the UK and Ireland. So just forming a partnership with NaWaS over the last year, and here to discuss more about it today.
Great. Hi, guys. I'm Frank, working for NaWaS, setting up servers in UK and other countries in Europe, and formerly was working for Flowmon. So I'm perfectly know on the details of the solution, how it works together. That's why I'm here.
Hello, good afternoon, good night, good morning. Pim van Stam from the NaWaS, the Netherlands. That's a national scrubbing center in the Netherlands. I'm the technical chief over here. So hopefully you have a lot of questions and we can try to answer them. Please go ahead.
Cool. Thank you for your introduction. Yeah, I have to say that we like NaWaS at Flowmon we have two reasons. NaWaS is a great customer of us, and the second is that they are a great technology partner, and we have integrated our solution with NaWaS. So this is the topic. Let me just do quick intro of Flowmon Networks, and then we will follow up with the introduction and deeper introduction of NaWaS. So we are a global vendor of network monitoring and network security solutions. We are based in the Czech Republic, in Brno, but operating worldwide. We have reached 1,000 customers in more than 40 countries worldwide. We do have very technical DNA, as our company is a university spin-off, and we have tight relations with academia so far. We were the first vendor worldwide with 100G probes, and you can see some of our customers on the right side, but this is as we do have different use cases from network monitoring, network security to DDoS protection. We serve to different types of customers, so you can find finance institutions, healthcare, government, agencies, to telco and carriers. And telco and carriers is most important for us today, because Flowmon together with NaWaS can help these companies to protect their network infrastructure against volumetric DDoS attacks. And just to finalize the introduction, the primary market for Flowmon is network performance monitoring and diagnostics, but we are also recognized in the security area, network traffic analysis, network behavior analysis, and of course the DDoS as a special kind or specific type of the security area as well. So that's shortly on Flowmon background, and now I will pass the presenter mode to Pim, and I will ask him or Frank to introduce NaWaS. So guys, the presentation is yours right now, so go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Lubos. Yeah, first of all, thank you guys for joining this presentation. And the first thing I want to emphasize is that NaWaS is a foundation. It's a non-profit foundation, started like 7 years ago by a number of internet service providers in the Netherlands who wanted to fight DDoS. And the reason they started this initiative is they found out that the vendors who already offering solutions for protecting DDoS were very, very expensive, sometimes ineffective as well. for use of smaller and mid-size ISPs. So this initiative started like 7 years ago, and today it's grown to like 45% of all the .nl internet domains are protected behind the NaWaS. And now we are moving into other countries in Europe to offer this service as well. So it's not only very effective and fast on technical perspective, but also price-wise pretty interesting because, well, we are a non-profit organization. I think these are also some lines Pim has in his presentation. So I hand over the word to you, Pim.
Okay, thank you, Frank. Shall we continue how the NaWaS is working, Lubos?
Yeah.
Do you want to? Yeah. Well, this was some time ago, just an ordinary week where we do NaWaS here in the Netherlands. We started, just as Frank said, a few years ago, just as a cooperative initiative from the ISPs in the Netherlands with the NaWaS, and now for a few years, and especially last year and this year, we're expanding to other countries in Europe. We have customers in Belgium, England, Austria, and going to be more and more countries. And the DDoS topic here is about detecting and mitigating DDoS attacks. And very important is how to analyze and report afterwards. And if you look into the detection phase, I just have to move the other thing a bit around. Then the NaWaS, you can say, is mainly focusing on ISPs or any company that has a autonomous system on the internet, so has an AS number and is doing BGP for routing the internet traffic. And a ISP or a customer does have its own internet connectivity, and if it's under attack, most of the times the DDoS traffic will overwhelm its own connections, and then something must be done. In that case, the customer can advertise the prefix under attack to the scrubbing center. We will mitigate the traffic and forward the clean traffic to the customer. So it's about a BGP redirection of the traffic. And in the detection phase, there are several systems that can be used to detect a DDoS. Two main types of detection are the manual detection. Someone is calling you, there's something going on, an engineer is looking at the traffic, oh, it's too much, and manually redirect the traffic. The other thing is that it can be automated with a tool, specialized tool or not, and that can be, for instance, Flowmon DDoS Defender, that is capable of detecting a DDoS, do the BGP advertisement of the prefix, and then the scrubbing center will clean the traffic. It can be all kinds of attacks, smaller or bigger. We'll come to it later. And then you got the mitigation part. The NaWaS is built in several layers with equipment from several vendors. And there's something we always wanted to do. We're a non-profit organization, independent of vendors or other types of organizations. So we like to have multiple vendors so we can use the best of breed what's in the market at this moment. 3 layers of defense. First, get rid of the big floods, then more specialized in getting rid of the floods in general, and then the application layer attacks, more specialized, look into the traffic and what's legitimate or not.
May I have a question here?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, just to make me understand, like the benefit of the approach for the customer. The magic is hidden in the efficiency, that there is no need to have always own cloud protection, and only in case of DDoS attack the customers are redirecting the traffic, right?
Yes, exactly. If I look at the previous slide, then you see here you have your own advertisement of prefixes. Say, for instance, you are an ISP and have a /22 prefix that you advertise to the internet, incoming traffic is coming in. And when a specific IP address is under attack, only the smallest amount of IP space you need to advertise to the NaWaS. That means, in this case, a /24, for instance. If you do this, it will immediately forward the traffic to the NaWaS. So there's no delay after the BGP advertisement in using the scrubbing center. That means the faster the detection is, the faster the mitigation will start. So if Flowmon is, for instance, capable of detecting a DDoS attack within a minute, then also the mitigation starts within a minute. And that's very fast. And depending on how fast a detection system can be, you don't need to have an always-on situation, because you hardly will notice a DDoS attack if it's detected and mitigated. Does this give a more an answer or more picture of the what you're mentioning?
Yeah, thank you very much.
And also the delay in the scrubbing center itself. The equipment is specialized for mitigating DDoS attacks. It's meant for DDoS attacks, and the upstream connectivity we have is only the tier 1 transit providers. That means that in some cases the delay of the traffic itself can even be shorter than the ISP is doing, because an ISP could maybe have a tier 2 or tier 3 transit provider and have more latency than we have. So there's hardly any latency in the NaWaS. For instance, almost all VoIP providers are using our services, and if there's any notice of latency in traffic, then it's on voice, and they use our services and sometimes for weeks, and no problem at all. In our situation also, we prefer to have a direct connectivity to our members. We do this with internet exchanges, and that are the M6 in the Netherlands, Analyse in Europe, and DSSPine and Megaport. We can use to connect customers to our services. And if that is not possible, we can also use a GRE tunnels. But we do prefer direct connections because it's way faster and way better to configure than GRE tunnels, for instance. And that's what most other parties are doing.
And I have a question from audience here. Where are your mitigation data centers, or where are the scrubbing centers settled? In which countries do you have your data centers?
And we have the setup in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, as close as possible to the tier 1 transit providers. And we like to be as close as possible to the core of the transit providers, and these are here in the Netherlands.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Well, then on reporting, detecting, mitigating, but reporting is also very important, maybe for trying to prosecute someone who is doing the DDoS attacks. And what we are doing is on every attack that is mitigated by our services, we report to the customer, and that's done by email. And you get the description of the attack in high-level description, and not UDP type this or that, or TCP type this or that, but it's a DNS amplification attack, for instance. For the well-known names of DDoS attacks, and the destination IP address, the time frame, how big the attack was in size or packets per second, and then also with graphs. The other possibility we can have with reporting is that we can send flow data of the attack. And that's very important for automatically DDoS detection. If you have a Flowmon, for instance, in your network that catches flow data from your own devices, and when there's a DDoS attack, this Flowmon will decide to divert the traffic to the NaWaS. And then you don't see the traffic anymore because your devices don't have the data. In this case, you can get the data from the NaWaS with only your traffic. So from all incoming traffic, we split it to the customer and send the flow data to the customer so that the detection or the network management systems still can see what's going on. And you can even do your own analysis of the DDoS traffic because you have the flow data. That's a possibility. We also have a web portal where you can see the history from the attacks, the number of attacks you had with the characteristics of the attacks and the pictures. We ourselves do the analysis of the DDoS attacks for the customers on every attack. And we also use the Flowmon Monitoring Center to do this. And that's
so
done
it's kind
by
of forensics of the attack?
Yeah, yes. So we can, if you don't have the flow data because you're not equipped for it, then for the forensic, we can also supply it on request. We also do for police investigations on some forensics if it's needed, but that's on request basis. We don't make packet captures by default because it's not allowed by the privacy laws in Europe. But on request, we could do packet captures.
So you get the request from your customer to get some full packet traffic capture in some time period, and you do that for them, send them PCAP or use the PCAP for the analysis and Wireshark or to see the packets, right?
Exactly. So if there's a DDoS attack, do you have a packet captures? No, we don't. But if there's a site that's attacked regularly and they want to have a packet capture for the upcoming few days, for instance, then that's possible.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, this is an email message you receive, for instance, if there was a DDoS attack, saying what the target was, the duration, what the peak of the traffic was, the type of DDoS attack, and then some graphs saying how it looked like. This reporting depends, of course, on the attack itself, what you get. And sometimes people didn't even notice that there was a DDoS attack, and they were notified for the first time by the report because the system automatically detected the DDoS attack, diverted the traffic to the NaWaS, it was mitigated automatically, and then, hey, there's a report. You were attacked. This is the attack.
This is how it should be.
And that's how it works for a lot of customers.
Yeah.
And if you compare your customers which are using DDoS protection in the manual mode to those who are using it like with full automation, do you have some feedback from them or their user experience, or what can you estimate how we together can protect their business values when it's automated? Is this data available in NaWaS?
Well, the customers who are doing it automatically are most of the times in the hosting provider sector. If they are not doing it automatically, they should. And customers doing it manually are most of the times in other sectors. We have, for instance, a payment provider with a closed network to all their customers. So it's not about website, but it's about some money going around in a closed network. And so the chance they will be attacked is close to zero because the network is not known. But the impact is very high if it lasted longer than half a day, for instance. But they have no problem if the network is not available for a quarter of an hour. And this is typically an example of a company that's saying, okay, we do not automate it, but we cannot imagine we can have a DDoS attack, but we must be protected because we are out of business if it takes longer than half a day, for instance. Mm. But a web hosting company can suffer from DDoS attacks almost every day. And they cannot do it manually because the other customers are also affected by the DDoS attack on one of their customers. So they will complain, and customers don't take it anymore if a hosting company is suffering from DDoS attacks. So they must automate it. Well, then there's a big type of customers that can automate it or not. There's a lot of difference in the type of customers.
Mm-hmm. And maybe Tim, how is it in the UK? You are facing customers a lot. You are talking to ISPs, hosting providers. What are their concerns, or when you discuss the DDoS defender with them, what is resonating among them?
So I would say it depends on which tier of ISP that you talk to. So generally speaking, the tier ones, the very large ones in the country, which there may be about 10, have pretty mature platforms in regards to DDoS detection and mitigation. But where we're seeing a lot of activity is the sort of tier 2 ISPs, where they've looked at particular on-site detection and mitigation platforms, and they're scaling out at such an expense that they can't afford those. And also they may have looked at particular cloud solutions that various of the larger vendors provide. And again, they're scaling out too expensive. What we're hearing is typical detection platforms take far too long to detect a volumetric attack, so they need to be able to spot the volumetric attack earlier on in the cycle, and they need to mitigate as soon as possible so that it doesn't affect their business. So we're seeing opportunity on two sides, really, in that our partners have the opportunity to talk to their customers in regards to the detection of volumetric attacks, but also for the end users, having the NaWaS solution and service in place gives them the opportunity to pay a monthly fee to have an absolutely credible mitigation platform for their DDoS volumetric attacks.
Yeah, okay, cool, thank you. And yeah, I took over the presenter mode, and yeah, if you don't mind, I will go through the like protection strategies in general, what are available for customers, so we can together discuss, the differences when using on-prem appliance, when doing some BGP Flowspec mitigation, or when they are using the cloud mitigation. So yeah, one of the basic or one of the well-known protection strategies indeed is the inline protection, right? It's straightforward. You have line, you put inline appliance, which is doing both the detection and the mitigation for the customer. There is a big advantage of this kind of appliance that it can cover up to layer 7 attack. So it's a kind of universal equipment. On the other hand, this doesn't fit the business of ISPs. It's first thing is that the capacity is typically limited. The second thing is that the line where it sits has also limited capacity, and the attack is often bigger than the capacity. So it's great to be able to detect the attack somewhere closer to the perimeter. And then we have another approach, the out-of-path detection and mitigation, where Flowmon does and where Flowmon fits in this approach, right? We just collect the flow data from the border routers, so we can see immediately at the border of the network that there is increased volume of the traffic coming in, and we have done integrations with NaWaS or with appliances which are deployed on-prem, and we can redirect the traffic for the mitigation. So let's, or gentlemen, what's your point of view of this different strategies? Can you see the inline detection techniques within some smaller ISPs, or is this purely for enterprises and like smaller businesses?
Shall I comment on this?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think, yeah, the inline detection is, in our view, done by the customer itself, so by the enterprise, smaller or larger, that doesn't matter. You need network monitoring for your network, so use also detection systems, and the inline mitigation, that depends. I think for smaller ISPs, smaller telcos, data centers, but also smaller enterprises shouldn't do it by themselves. I think mitigation is something for companies that has that needs very good knowledge of their network and want to be in control, and a very skilled engineers for their network. So more the technical type of companies, and the more bigger companies that can do the mitigation for the smaller attacks by themselves and want to be in more control, and when it's overwhelming their networks and want to use a scrubbing center. And that's what we see also with a few of our customers. If a data center customer, for instance, that's doing the mitigation by themselves for attacks up to 5 or 10 gigabits per second, and then is using our services. And also an operator is doing it like this. They can handle more. One of the biggest operators is in the Netherlands is using their own devices, and then is using the NaWaS if it's too big. Another operator is only using the NaWaS and doesn't have something by themselves. And that's what you see more often. For smaller companies doing mitigation by itself, I think it's a hard job. Also for having the right knowledge to mitigate it in the right way.
And it's often too late for them, right, to do the mitigation if they have only one uplink with the inline device, and
yeah.
You know, they are still done because of the capacity of the link.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so maybe the conclusion or could be like the combined approach and maybe multi-layered approaches could work well for companies. So, but yeah, definitely depends on the customer, as we see very different types of customers even among the ISPs, right? They do have different approaches, they do have different teams, and some of them are like more techie and geek based companies, some of them prefer to have like reliable services. So this is something yeah, which should be balanced. Or Tim, any experiences from UK on this, or did you have some special demands on some of those approaches?
No, I mean, typically what we hear is that there's either a commercial or operational reason for either deploying on-prem or a cloud service. But again, it's the complexities that we've heard about when deploying on-premise mitigation devices that people are trying to move away from, and having an automated service like the NaWaS that becomes, you know, a no-brainer in that it's not complicated for them. It's an automated process, and they can carry on with managing their business.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Thank you. So let's just summarize this different scenarios. Here is the out-of-path detection and mitigation, where the regular traffic is coming through the from the routers. We collect NAT flow to collector. Collector is equipped with DDoS Defender module, so the baselines are learned for a different protected segment. That means different tenants of service provider. And once there is an attack, we can see attack and redirect the traffic for the mitigation. In this case, it's the mitigation appliance, which again typically is has some limit of the capacity. So as Pim mentioned, sometimes it's combined that under some capacity, or if the capacity is exceeded, it's being redirected to the cloud scrubbing further. Then another approach we mentioned, or I mentioned, is the BGP Flowspec mitigation, which is kind of a specific mitigation. It's not real mitigation in sense of cleaning the traffic as the scrubbing services provide to customer. It's how it works, right? This is again the regular traffic. The baselines are being learned, and once there is an attack, the BGP Flowspec allows to specify the signature of the attack and to instruct the router, which is equipped with the BGP Flowspec feature, which traffic should be dropped or redirected, or that there are different actions which could be taken with BGP Flowspec. But yeah, this is for me, it's just more clever RTBH, because yeah, RTBH is black holing. That means that the traffic is being dropped. Here you can specify which traffic is being dropped. On the other hand, the RTBH is populated one hop away from your network. So that means that you drop the traffic in the far away from your network, which is always better. And the BGP Flowspec is done on your router. So this is like kind of different. Pim, do you have any experience with the BGP Flowspec, and you know, just some best practices, how customers are using that? You mentioned that with NaWaS you are settled with the BGP standard BGP injection and redirection, but are your customers using BGP Flowspec for some specific use cases?
Well, our customers not, of course, because they're using the NaWaS. And as you mentioned, black holing is something that you shouldn't do anymore. It's because the attacker is doing his job very well. Sure, DDoS attack, black holing for an hour, and mission succeeded. So that's something you can't do anymore. BGP Flowspec is just filtering the traffic. It's not mitigating actually. If it's an easy DDoS attack, then it is sufficient. But most of the times, for the more clever attacks, PGP Flowspec is not the right job for this. But for the very big attacks, we also are going to use PGP Flowspec. For the volume attacks in the terabit area, the real mitigation devices as we are using are way too expensive to handle these attacks. So the PGP Flowspec for this type of attacks is a very good mean to mitigate the DDoS attack, because it's very high scale and the traffic is very easy to mitigate. You only need the bandwidth to do this. So our first layer of defense is actually the PGP Flowspec, where the attack is coming in. It's detected by the mitigation devices, and then these devices can inject the PGP Flowspec filter into the switches where the transit providers are connected to. So we are doing this type of mitigation, and because we are doing this, our customers don't have to do this. They just redirect the traffic and wish the NaWaS good luck with the traffic.
Which makes your customers happy, right? That they do not need to care about that because they have you to solve it for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Okay, and the last scenario is the NaWaS scenario, where we again collect the net flow data to detect the anomaly, volumetric anomaly in the traffic, and we populate the we inject the BGP route diversion, so the traffic is being redirected to NaWaS to the precise scrubbing for the customer. Yeah, so this was the last scenario, and if we could follow up with the session, and I will make you, Pim, again presenter. Could you share some experiences and numbers, reports from the NaWaS with your customers, which attacks are facing your customers, and some of this data?
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
So let me switch presenter again. Okay, you should have presenter now.
Yeah, I do. Okay, you can see a graph, I suppose, right?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, well, I will make it a bit smaller. We do not have actual figures yet from 2019 because we are doing half annual reports, and the first half year of 2019 is not yet done. So it will be, I suppose, in August where we can have a report again. So this is the report of our findings from 2018 compared to 2017. If we look at 2017, it was a year where we thought, okay, it could be the case that we are done with DDoS attacks. Just like spam, DDoS attacks are not an issue anymore. That's not the case. So 2016, that's not in our figures from this report. We're actually higher in number of a volume of the attacks and in the length. And what we are seeing now, we'll see, we have a report, research method. It can be downloaded from our website in Dutch or in English. And we were seeing that the DDoS attack, the biggest DDoS attack we mitigated at our platform was 68 gigabit per second in 2018. So the very high volume attacks, we have not seen them on our network, but they were in the terabit area. And what we have seen is this one. And that was higher in 2017, and in 2016 there was the second largest attack. So we skipped 2017, and if we look at the duration, most of the attacks are small in time, and they get in the sense of time, they get larger, bigger. They're lasting longer, the attacks. And what we're seeing now is that attacks are increasing in times if you count the attacks. So an attack starts at the website, stops and starts again, and stops again, but it can last for days sometimes. We do not measure this. We measure every single attack. So larger than 4 hours, you cannot see in our figures. But that is the case if we look at it from attacks on a single destination for over a day, for instance. But they are taking longer attacks. That's what we see. Amplification attacks are the most well-known attacks, and to our surprise, from last year, the DNS amplification attack was way the best attack to use by the attackers. The one that was the most common type. But last year it has changed, and now we see that the LDAP amplification attack is the most used type of attack. I don't know why. They're not very big, easy to mitigate, but they are used most of the times. So there's a shift in the type of attacks, and hard to see. But what we are seeing this year also is that the attacks are splitting up. So the smaller attacks are getting smaller and taking longer time, and the bigger attacks are getting bigger. And there's a shift to the downside and to the upper side. And I suppose that's some interpretation that the attackers that want to have a website, for instance, really out of business, don't use big attacks. They want to be under the radar as long as possible and use smaller and smaller attacks, just enough to get a site out of business. And the bigger attacks are doing it for being on the news and to make a statement, for instance. On governmental
but if I understood correctly, this is good news for automatic approach, right? As still they can be detected in the automatic mode, but they are not so visible for the manual way as they are getting smaller. Or this is,
yes,
is this valid?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We had, for instance, a few months ago, an attack from 50 packets per second. Yes, indeed, 50 packets per second. That was capable of getting a site down from a very big company. They did it in a very clever way, but was detected by an automated system. You cannot see this manually. No way you can see a attack from 50 packets per second. I have a graph I can show you from the current situation right now. Oh, it's already gone. Well, here in I don't know if you can see it on the left screen in the middle. I don't know if you can see my mouse pointer. At 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Yeah, we cannot see your mouse pointer, but yeah.
Yeah, at just after 2 o'clock, we have at the current moment we have 1 gigabit of traffic at our at one of the entries in our network, and there is a attack of 500 megabit per second. These are the types of attacks we see a lot nowadays, getting smaller and smaller instead of bigger and bigger, and hardly to notice, getting under the radar. But do not get the network down of an ISP, but do get the customer down. And that's something I would try too if I was a attacker.
Luckily you aren't.
Yeah, cool. Okay, gents, we are running out of time. So can we, or can you share with us, your plans for expansion to the UK? And I can see, Pim, you are speaking, but you are probably muted. Let me check. Or we lost your audio.
Are there any questions? Oh.
Yeah. Now I can hear you. Now I can hear you.
Okay, I don't know when you lost me.
Yeah. Okay. I just we are running out of time, so it will be great if we can do some conclusions, and it will be great if you could share with us your plans for expansion to the UK. Probably Tim, if you could add what it means for Flowmon and what are Flowmon plans with NaWaS within the UK. And I will ask our audience to put some questions meantime if they are interested to know some details on what we have discussed so far.
Yeah, Lubos, to answer that question, we definitely want to grow more in Europe and focusing on Germany, Switzerland, Austria, but for now in UK. And the question we have to the audience, and maybe it's not the right moment to get the answers, but the big question we have: how important is it to that the data will keep within UK borders? Well, we see daily news on Brexit, etc., and no one knows if it ever will happen. But as the audience earlier asked, where are your scrubbing centers? Well, they are in Amsterdam. That's pretty close to UK. But some customers ask me, well, guys, are you planning to build your scrubbing center within the borders of UK? Because our data will stay there. And for some people, it's important, some people not. Of course, the number of customers we want to grow in number of members, sorry. We want to grow in UK. That's the first line. The second line is that we want to share our data with universities and research institutes. We're already talking to some of them to share information and to fight DDoS. That's the main goal of our foundation. But coming back to the first question, we really like to understand if it's important that the data should stay within the borders, and so we have to build scrubbing centers in UK and maybe Germany and other countries as well. But we definitely want to grow. We feel our timing is great right now to offer our services to mid-size ISPs in the other countries. Well, we just started to communicate this, and they're picking up this service really fast. A lot of questions, a lot of members signed up lately. Of course, well, we want to join the solution together with you guys to have the best solution in the market as the best price efficiency ratio. So yeah, we definitely want to move on in other countries, and we put a lot of efforts and money there, but not only to grow the number of members, but also to share the information. Then you cut the circle and we can get better and better. This is, well, the main plans we have right now.
Tim, from your perspective?
Yeah, so from our perspective, it's another message that we can take out to our partners, that they can take to their customers in regards to, one, is it a commercial or operational procedure that they need to change in regards to their DDoS strategy. This certainly takes it to a new level for them, and this opens up a whole new wave of conversations to those ISPs and managed service providers in the UK that we're starting to have. You know, we've recently onboarded customers in regards to this service while deploying DDoS Defender at the same time. So we see this as a growth market for ourselves and our partners.
Okay, cool, thank you. We have one question from audience. What is the pricing model of NaWaS? Is there some flat rate, or it's based on the number of attacks or size of the attack? Could you share with us?
We are happy to share pricing, but maybe after this WebEx. But the basic of the rate.
I don't mean to share like end user pricing, just principles. You know, if there is what principle, what is based the pricing on?
The structure is based on the number of prefixes, so /24s who need to be protected, and we have 5 different categories going from small to the bigger companies. Our lowest rate is 1,500 euros a month, which is really affordable for most companies, and then we go up if you have more prefixes or /24s to protect. So I hope this is some basic information, but we're happy to share more details after the WebEx with the guys who asked the questions.
And then it's
and another question
so
here. Yes, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Pim. I will ask later.
For clean traffic or DDoS traffic or number of attacks. The idea behind this is we want to get rid of the DDoS attacks, what Frank told us before. So if we do have a amount of money on the number of attacks, then you are going to decide, okay, this attack I don't want to have to mitigate, this attack I want to have mitigated. But we want to get rid of all attacks. So we don't calculate on the number of attacks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have 2 questions which are similar. The first is, what is the capacity of the scrubbing centers, uplink and scrubbing platform? And the second, how much capacity has NaWaS for scrubbing center and for tier 1 transit providers?
The first question was?
First question was, it's about capacity. It looks, the same. What is the capacity of the scrubbing centers, uplink and scrubbing platform? What is the limit of your capacity?
Well, there's an easy answer to easy question to answer easily, or a easy question to answer almost hardly. Capacity is not an issue, actually, really an issue on DDoS attacks. We had no attack we couldn't mitigate. So the very big attack, there's always an attack that is bigger than the capacity you have. So we monitor the capacity we need for the attacks we have. At the moment, we have about 200 gigabits per second, but that doesn't say a lot. It is the mitigation devices you have that needs to handle the DDoS attacks. If you're only capable of using PGP Flowspec to mitigate attacks, then you won't get far. Only the very big attacks you can mitigate. But we get hundreds of attacks a year. Tens of attacks a week, and the most of the attacks are very small and need to have real mitigation devices. That should be the question. How well is your mitigation device to mitigate this or that kind of attack? We can increase easily the amount of bandwidth we have by increasing the links. We are at the core of the transit providers, so we can easily have multiple hundred gigs of links, and then for the very big attack using PGP Flowspec. So we have up to now the capacity we need for the attacks we have seen so far.
Okay, thank you. So there is no other question from the audience. So thank you very much, gentlemen, for sharing all this interesting information with us. Good luck with NaWaS in the UK, and I'm looking forward for some another session. Any last words from your side, guys?
No, thanks for the time
Thank you
today.
very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And thank you to our audience. Goodbye. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.